Okay, let's talk about CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. I know. The name alone can sound huge, like this massive, complicated mountain you have to climb. But what if we looked at it a different way? What if it's not a mountain, but a really clearly marked trail? Well, that's what this is. This is your startup roadmap to CMMC compliance.
Sound familiar? You're looking at this whole thing and you just feel stuck. You know you have to get compliant, but the sheer number of rules, policies, and all the requirements, it can feel totally paralyzing. You're just thinking, where do I even start? If that's you, you are in the perfect spot. We are going to make this whole thing crystal clear.
So here it is. This is our game plan. 5 simple, logical, totally manageable steps. We're going to start with the foundation, then assign roles, figure out exactly where you stand, build a plan to fix the gaps, and then finally get you ready for the real deal. See? Not so bad. Let's jump into step 1. You know, any big project has to start with a solid foundation. You wouldn't build a house on sand, right? Well, for CMMC, that foundation isn't concrete. It's documentation. It's all about gathering up the evidence that proves you're doing what you say you're doing. And that all starts with getting organized. So I want you to meet your new best friend, the evidence locker. Seriously, this is the most important concept to get right from the very beginning. It's not a physical thing, of course. It's a central digital spot where every single piece of your compliance story lives. It is your single source of truth. So how do you start filling this thing up? It's actually way easier than it sounds. First, just grab everything you already have. You know, your current security policies, employee handbooks, any procedures you've written down. Get them in there. Second, if you've done any kind of audit before, even an informal one, get those results uploaded too. Bam, that's your starting line. All right, our evidence locker has its first few items. Now it's time for step 2. And this is a big one. CMMC compliance is not a one-person job. It's a team sport, and for the team to win, every single player needs to know their exact position on the field. That's what assigning ownership is all about. And the tool you're going to use for this is called the Shared Responsibility Matrix. Think of it like your team's playbook. It's a simple document that answers one critical question for every single security control. Who is responsible for what? This little tool is a lifesaver because it gets rid of all the confusion and makes sure nothing falls through the cracks. And here's what that looks like in the real world. Super practical. For something like access control on your email server, boom, that's the IT department. Incident response for your COI database, that's on the compliance officer. And I love this last one because it shows that some things, like protecting media on your workstations, is a job for all employees. It makes ownership totally black and white.
Okay, so you've got your evidence organized and you know who's doing what. Now it's time for the reality check. Step 3 is all about analyzing your gaps. This is where we figure out exactly where you are today versus where you need to be to get compliant.
I want you to think of this phase as your compliance cockpit. It's like you're the pilot, and you've got this dashboard that brings all your information together, everything from that evidence locker and your responsibility matrix. This is your mission control, that high-level view that lets you spot every little gap with total precision. And the process itself, it's really straightforward. On one side, you have your current state. That's defined by all that stuff you put in your evidence locker. On the other side, you have the official CMMC requirements. And that space right in between the two, yep, those are your gaps. That's the stuff you need to work on. Now, knowing where the gaps are is one thing, but actually fixing them is the whole point, right? So that brings us to step 4, turning all that analysis into a concrete plan of action. This is where the rubber meets the road, where we figure out the work, the resources, and yeah, the cost. A really solid action plan just flows logically. You start by figuring out the effort. How much work is this gap going to take to fix? From there, you can develop a smart strategy for how you're going to tackle it. Once you have a strategy, you can allocate the right resources, the people, the tech, the time. And only then can you build a realistic budget. But here's the key. You tie that budget right back to your plan so you can track everything and make sure you're staying on course. And just like that, we are at the final step on our roadmap. You've laid the groundwork, you've assigned the owners, you've analyzed your gaps, and you've built a killer action plan. You've followed the trail, and now the destination is right there in front of you. It's time to bring it all home and get ready for the assessment itself. So after all that preparation, what's left? What's the big, final, complicated step? Well, the secret is, there isn't one. The final step is simply to begin, to execute the plan. You've got the map, you have the strategy. All the hard work of planning is done. Now you can move forward with confidence and get ready for that official assessment.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with just one thought. This whole journey, this whole roadmap, it all starts with one tiny action. It starts with that evidence locker we talked about way back in step 1. So my question for you is this. What's the very first piece of evidence? That one policy, that one procedure that you are going to upload to your locker today?